one Tory MP convicted of sexually assaulting a boy, a second accused of sexually harassing his parliamentary staff, a third admitting to watching pornography in the Commons, and yet another arrested just this week for alleged rape. Frankly, you must be appalled.
Of course, and I'm very, very concerned, not only for victims, but also this doesn't help the reputation of the House of Commons. Far from it. And what I want to do is make sure we have clear ways in which to support victims and making sure that those routes are available. And what I would say very clearly, if it is a criminal offence, please go straight to the police. We also have our ICGS, our independent complaints way forward. So what I say is we have different routes, please use them. Do not feel you're alone. Do not feel that you have to suffer. We're here to help and support, and we've got to rebuild the reputation of the House of Commons, and we can only do that by ensuring if there are bad eggs out there, let's get them out of the way.
And is it just a few bad eggs? Because as you say, Parliament's reputation is being dragged through the gutter at the moment. Is that perception fair, or is the reality not quite as bad as the reputation?
What I would say is these media stories, mega stories, and what I would say is the world then makes judgments, and what we've got to do is get the house in the right place. You know, we are a village, and we want a village that people feel safe to work within and be part of that village. And what we've got to do is make sure we have the right reporting systems in there, we have the right support for people, and part of that is that's why I've asked to call a speakers conference.
So tell us about the Speakers Conference, which is essentially, if I understand correctly, a cross-party committee to look at overhauling some of the ways that Parliament is run.
Not only run, but actually with what we do. And part of a lot of the complaints is that MPs employing staff and that relationship has brought a lot of this into question. It's about power, the dimensions of it, and the difficulties of it. And what I'm saying is, I totally recognise the importance of MPs being political, and therefore they should be the ones that choose the staff to work for them. What I would say, is it right that it's actually the MPs that employ them? You know, are we employed, trained? Do we know the rules? Do we know the rights? How do we deal with it? You're an MP, and to be an employer on top is another burden. And also that the people who work for them can't go to anybody else, they've got to go to the employer, which is the MP. So what I would say is I wanted a speakers conference, I want to see evidence on this. It could well be that either IPSA or the House of Commons become the employer for MP staff. But I think the guarantee has got to be part of that. If that is to happen, it's the trade-off. And the trade-off will be that actually MPs are the ones that choose the staff who work for them. And then it is for somebody else to employ them. And that would allow the MPs also who have difficulties with staff, accusations could be made against MPs that are unfounded. Both parties have an independent arbiter.
And what about, you say that it's important that the lines of reporting are right. Is the independent complaints and grievance scheme sufficient at the moment, or does that need to be looked at again?
First of all, if it's a serious crime, go straight to the police. That's what I would say to people. Don't mess about, go to the police, get it reported. If it's criminal, go to the police. For other complaints, of course, we've got the ICGS. Does it work? It is working. And of course, you're always going to refine it. It's a new system, needs to be updated, and we need to continually look at how it operates. And part of cases have been brought, people say, oh, it takes too long. It's the length of time. Well, what we've got to do is look to where the problems are. Let's iron out the problems. Let's not stop a system that has been proved to work. And that's what I'm concerned about. It does work. We've got to make it work. Can we get it better? Of course. And we've always got to be refining and re-looking at how we can make it easier, quicker, and better for everybody concerned.
And do you have any initial thoughts about how it could be improved?
I think that's taking evidence from others. People who said, well, I've been put off by the system, or I thought the system worked well. We need to learn of people who've actually used the system. And what we've got to do is build on what the evidence is. And I think evidence-based review is the best way forward.
And I wondered, do you think that there is an inherent problem with behaviour in politics in particular, as distinct from other trades or professions. And I ask that because it's a sphere in which people are attracted to power and prestige. They're working in the splendid surroundings of the old Palace of Westminster. Does that attract people with bad motives more than other walks of life?
I don't know. I've never done the comparative. I know that different parts of life, the police have had a very difficult time as well very recently. And we know there's difficulties within the armed forces as well. So there is behaviour problems in different organisations. Are we worse? I'm not sure. What I would say is it shouldn't be tolerated wherever it is. And I think that's the real difference. And of course, we're very lucky. It's a privilege to be a Member of Parliament. It's a privilege to represent the people who have elected us. And it's about getting on with that job. And that's what we need to do, is support MPs to becoming the best MPs delivering for the constituents, whatever political party they're from, because they've been chosen in a very, and quite rightly, a democratic process that's brought them to this House. And it's a privilege to become an MP. It really, really is. And, I'm so proud to be a Member of Parliament, so proud to be the member for Chorley. That's my hometown. There's no better constituency, and I'm completely biased on that. What I'd say is, look, it is a privilege. Enjoy it. Make the best out of it. Do the right things by the people who put you there. They expect the best of us, and let's give the best for them.
Now, some of the issues we've seen in Parliament with sexual misconduct, inappropriate comments, bullying are of course cross-party, but it is at the same time noticeable that the allegations have been totting up far more significantly in recent months on the Tory benches. Is this more of a problem, particularly around the sexual misconduct piece, in the Conservative Party?
I don't know, because there could be some in the system. I'm not told what's within the system. So, I can't give you an honest answer on that. We can look at on the face of it, it looks that way. What I would say is I hope that I'd like to believe we were coming to the end of where we are now, but who knows? As I say, people may have reported to the police, some may have gone to the ICGS. What I would say is, at the moment, it looks that way. But of course, if you are the biggest party and the dominant party, presumably if you are reflecting the House, maybe that also adds up to why it's a bigger problem. We've got MPs that, take the job seriously. I've got to say, it's a privilege and it's an honour to be a Member of Parliament. And in the end, there's only 650 of us actually make it here in each election. Get the best out of it. Do the right things. And I think we've got to get it back to what we're being, is good MPs, representing our constituencies, Look, I've got a wonderful job. I'm a Speaker of the House, and I've got to say, I'm a privilege to be the MP for Chorley. It's a privilege to be the Speaker. But I still go home to see my constituents every weekend. I want to get back to Lancashire. That's where the people who put me are. The people of Chorley put the faith in me, and my faith is being seen around my constituency, meeting up with people, taking up the issues. They have the problems. I shouldn't be creating problems for them. I should be sorting their problems out. And that's always my advice to MPs.
And about this Conservative MP arrested on Tuesday morning over allegations of rape, sexual assault, indecent assault, misconduct in public office and more. Now, we know that the Conservative Party have asked this individual not to attend Parliament while this police investigation is underway, and obviously those are very grave and serious allegations. But it is only a request. Obviously, you take the security and safety of staff working here very seriously. Shouldn't that MP be banned from attending the estate until the police investigation is concluded?
I think there's two things. First of all, just separating them out. With the previous complaints we've had, we've asked the MPs to stay away. They have done. It's been a way of working. In the end, I haven't got the power to stop a Member of Parliament coming into this House. And that's where it leaves us difficulties. That's why we've been done by agreement, working very closely with the whips of parties when individuals are concerned. And I've got to say, we can get an agreement from the MP to switch off the pass as well. So therefore, that also is another barrier to coming into the House. Unless the rules change of the House, a member has the right to come in. Because in the end, you're innocent and proven guilty. What we believe is it's in the best interest of both the member and the staff to stay away while there is a police investigation.
is empowering you or the Commons authorities outside the traditional disciplinary routes of the party whips or the parties themselves, is that something that your Speakers' Conference should look at in very serious cases like this one?
What I would say is conversations are going on at the moment.
I'll take that as a yes then. May I ask you about drinking on the parliamentary estate as well? An FOI by Times Radio last week revealed that 9 security incidents were sparked in the month of in the month of March alone due to people being intoxicated. How concerned are you about drinking in Westminster?
I think it is about drinking in Westminster rather than the House of Commons. I think that is the first question. I think what I would say is we do work strange hours. We do work in a strange place. People know we're near home, and therefore this isn't a normal place of working. In the same way that one could argue if you're in the armed forces, of course you've got bars on camp as well. What it's about making sure we have a duty of care to people who use those facilities and to make sure that people are safe within that environment. The fact is, if we would close the bars tomorrow, it doesn't stop drinking, far from it. What we do know is the drinking problem is not usually within the house, is people who've been drinking off-site who then come back on. And we do know that members or staff may decide to start drinking in offices. It would be a major thing to police. What I would say is responsible drinking is something that we should be looking to, and we should make sure that our staff are trained to the highest level, recognising they have a duty of care to the number or who they serve and how much alcohol is served to that person. So as I say, responsible drinking is something there. And MPs bring in visitors, maybe from overseas or from the constituencies, and therefore they will take them on the terrace for a drink. And I think it's about social drinking, responsible drinking, and I think everybody would find that acceptable. I think what we've got to do is watch people don't indulge too much and cause problems, and those problems have got to be dealt with straight away. And in the end, if people did cause a problem in the bar, they'll be barred from going in there.
So it sounds like you don't agree with Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, who said that MPs should stay away from boozing on the terrace after work. He said, "My advice to MPs is avoid the bars, finish your day's work and go home."
Look, I've got the greatest, Ben's my neighbour, I've got the greatest respect. I've not seen Ben closing many bars down within the armed forces. So, if the culture's fine there, why can't we use the same kind of culture here? And what I would say is, going off the estate and coming back on drunk is not an answer either. You forget, we close the bar here, you're 100 yards from a pub on the corner. I can't bar people from every pub in London. And of course, the administration committee would have to support that. As I say, it's about people being more responsible, and it's about making sure that people don't indulge too much. And that's why within a public bar now, people are trained to recognise and to give people support. We have a health and well-being support here. And quite rightly, I do concern about people who drink. People are away from home, people are very lonely. And the fact is people may be drinking in their office that we don't know about. Now, that does worry me as well. So it's about making sure we do have support, looking after people. When I first arrived in 1997, there was about 3 or 4 MPs who drank themselves to death. And it wasn't because they were in the bar, because they were drinking in their office as well. So I've seen a very heavy drinking culture when I first arrived, the media, everybody. There was things like Annie's Bar, all those things have gone. Where it was heavy, we were drinking through the night because of the hours. That was not a good time. And what I would say is I think we're in a more responsible time. I think people recognise that we've got to look out for each other and support each other, whether that's MPs, staff of the House, or staff of members as well.
I mean, there are some concerns and reports of MPs sometimes turning up drunk to vote. Do you think that there should be breathalyzer tests or any other kind of fitness to vote tests?
Look, I'll be quite honest. I do know when in 97 there was heavy drinkers that were going through. And I would say, there was a very strong smell of alcohol in those days. I think we're in a different era.
Understood. And just on this, I think another area of concern is the subsidies in Parliament's bars. I think you can buy a large glass of nice white wine for £3.70 in Strangers and a pint for about £3.50. That's almost unheard of cheap prices.
You need to come
London.
up north. Yeah, come up north. In fact, they think they're being ripped off. What I would say is, look, the bars aren't subsidised. That's the most profitable part of the House of Commons.
They could be more in line with ordinary prices in the capital, though. And
so
maybe
what we're
create
going to
more
do is
profit.
price off the poorest paid who work in the House. I think, there's a recognition here that would that really stop an MP whose salary is much greater than others, and therefore who we're trying to affect, the poorest paid. I think there's a balance to be struck. What I would say is that if we were subsidising, I would have a real concern. They do make quite a huge profit for the House. Now, that's also questionable as well. How much alcohol do we serve? From my point of view, I recognise that people feel that we need to keep Strangers Bar open. It's part of the history of the House. Would I personally be upset if it closed tomorrow? No, but I do recognise there are people who use it, people who don't abuse the system and work within the system. And, I've never compared the prices. I'll be quite honest, it's quite interesting, Will that stop people drinking who's got a drink problem? No.
Can we turn briefly to the state of the Palace of Westminster? Falling masonry, leaks pouring through office ceilings, fires erupting. These are all common hazards. The place is basically falling to bits, isn't it?
Well, look, I'm not sure about infernos of fires right through the estate. I don't know about that. Well, I do know we have had leaks. This is a property. Some of it was 70s built, some of it was 50s, some of it was Victorian. So there's different eras within here, which is the worst part. As we know, the most modern part, we seem to have a lot of leaks. That's Portcullis House, which is only 20 years old. So let's reflect on what we need to. Of course, we've got to look after this building. We've got to maintain it. And what I can't afford to do is wait for decisions to be taken. So in the meantime, we are getting on with the work. Hence why we've got the Queen Elizabeth Tower in all its splendour now, stripped from scaffolding. We've got to keep doing the work. Well, while people are discussing it, people are debating it. I want to make this place safe. I want to make sure it's a safe place to work. And we've got to recognise that we've got to carry out. We've been doing the roofs. We're still on with the roofs. We've done the cast iron roofs. We're now doing the flatter parts of the roofs as well. It's so important to stop leaks. We've got to secure the building and get the best out of it. What I can afford to do for everybody to do it, are we leaving, are we staying, whatever we're doing, that's great.
Which solution do you support?
I have a very quick solution. Sort the problems now, get on with them, and when the House decides to make its a decision, I will abide by the decision of the House. But what I'm not going to do is wait forever without doing the repairs. I'm on with it. I'm going to keep on with it because I believe in this building. I believe in Parliament. And what we've got to do is just not wait for another 8 years of discussion. I'm making things happen now.
And you're known as a real animal lover, boasting a wide array of pets, I think most of whom are named after political figures. Will you take us briefly through your menagerie?
Yeah, Boris the parrot, Maggie the tortoise, Betty the dog, which is a Patterdale Terrier, and we've got a new member that comes on Friday, Attlee the cat.
That's wonderful. And do they stay with you in Chorley or do they travel to London?
Some travel to London, stay up there. The dog usually stays with my father. Boris usually travels down. The cat has always travelled down with Boris. Maggie only comes in summer when the weather's nice and she can go out and have a walk around the terrace.
And a final question to you. Obviously, it's a fantastic role being Speaker of the Commons. Do you ever speak to your predecessors for advice?
I'll be quite honest. I get a lot of good advice. But one of my great heroes is Betty Boothroyd. And she rings me up and says, well, lovey, you're doing a good job, but... And then it's the but I get told what I need to be doing. So, yeah, no, she's wonderful. And I'd have dinner with her when she comes down. Well, she'll say, dress, think long and hard, and just bring them into line. Don't let that Prime Minister get away with too much, So she really is lovely, and it's good, solid advice. And it's nice that somebody who is next door in the Lords, I can have dinner with and I can have a chat. And as I say, she's a great hero.
Do you ever speak to John Bercow?
In fairness to John, I've not seen John since. John's got different careers and different irons in the fire. We've not come across each other.